Welcome back to EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into a topic that's reshaping how enterprises handle customer service across Europe. We're talking about AI agents and conversational AI, specifically how they're transforming business in Rotterdam and beyond. Sam, thanks for joining me. This feels like a really pivotal moment for enterprise AI.
Thanks, Alex. It really is. And what's fascinating is the distinction we need to make right from the start. Most people hear AI customer service and they think chatbots. But AI agents are fundamentally different. They're not just responding to queries, they're actually reasoning, making decisions, and executing workflows autonomously. That's the real game changer.
Right, so a traditional chatbot is essentially pattern matching, correct? You ask it something, it recognizes the pattern, and returns a pre-written answer or API result. An AI agent, though, that's operating on a totally different level.
Exactly. AI agents are built on large language models but enhanced with planning, memory, and tool integration. They understand context, break down complex problems, and execute multi-step workflows without constant human intervention. A chatbot answers, an agent acts. And that distinction is driving the ROI transformation we're seeing in enterprises right now.
So let's talk numbers. I read that 58% of enterprises have deployed generative AI, but only 22% are capturing sustained value. Why the gap?
Because most organizations are treating AI as a chatbot layer, a nice-to-have on top of existing processes, rather than as an operational backbone. When you deploy agentic AI architectures where AI handles planning, delegation, and actual execution, the value realization rates jump to 3.5x higher. You're not just answering questions, you're automating decision-making and workflow triggers.
And for a port logistics hub like Rotterdam, that seems incredibly relevant. A customer service agent here isn't just fielding inquiries. There are complex shipment tracking, exception handling, regulatory documentation involved.
Precisely. There's an Amsterdam logistics company that deployed agentic AI and saw their first contact resolution jump from 62% to 89% in 90 days. Support ticket volume dropped 45%. Average handling time went from 6 minutes down to 45 seconds for routine issues. Those aren't incremental improvements, they're transformational.
Those metrics are staggering, but I'm curious. When you automate away 45% of support tickets, aren't you just deflecting work elsewhere? Or is this genuine resolution?
That's the right skepticism. This is genuine automation and resolution, not deflection. The AI agent is diagnosing issues across multiple data sources, ERP systems, CRM platforms, knowledge bases, and initiating corrective workflows automatically. It can process refunds, rebook shipments, or trigger technical resets without human intervention. It only escalates genuinely complex cases to specialists.
So, you're actually reducing the work that needs to be done, not just shifting it down the line. That's a fundamentally different operating model. How does learning factor in? Can these systems improve over time?
Yes, this is where the agent architecture really shines. The system learns from outcomes and continuously improves its resolution patterns. Every interaction, every escalation, every successful workflow execution feeds back into the model's decision-making. You get compounding efficiency gains, not static performance.
Let's zoom out for a moment. Gartner's projecting that 65% of enterprise workflows will be augmented by AI agents by 2027. That's a massive shift from where we are today. What's driving that acceleration?
Several factors. First, the technology is mature enough now. LLMs are reliable. Integration frameworks exist. Second, competitive pressure is real. If your competitor can handle customer issues 89% of the time on first contact while you're stuck at 60%, you're losing market share. Third, and this is crucial for regulated markets like Europe, governance frameworks are becoming standardized. Organizations finally understand how to deploy AI agents within legal boundaries.
That's a great segue to compliance, because this is where I think a lot of European enterprises are nervous. The EU AI Act is the elephant in the room. How does that affect deployment of agentic AI in customer service?
It's significant, but it's also surmountable if you build compliance into your architecture from day one. The EU AI Act classifies AI systems by risk. Customer service agents handling sensitive data, payment information, health records, shipping details fall into high-risk categories. That means you need transparency, auditability, and human oversight mechanisms built in from the start, not bolted on afterward.
So it's not that you can't deploy agentic AI under the EU AI Act. It's that you have to be intentional about how you design it.
Exactly. And actually, organizations that embrace compliance-first architecture often end up with better systems. They document decision logic, they build in human escalation pathways, they track and audit outcomes. These aren't constraints, they're guardrails that prevent bad deployments. The winners in 2026 will be organizations that understand both the technical architecture and the compliance landscape simultaneously.
Let's talk practically. If I'm a Rotterdam-based enterprise, say I'm in logistics or tech services, and I'm considering deploying agentic AI, what should I be thinking about first?
3 things. First, audit your current workflows. Where do you have high-volume, repeatable processes that don't require deep judgment? That's your starting point. Second, map your data landscape. An AI agent is only as good as the systems it can access and integrate with, your ERP, CRM, knowledge bases. If those aren't clean and interconnected, you're in for a rough implementation. Third, and this is non-negotiable, invest in governance and compliance review upfront. Get your legal and ops teams involved before you code.
So it's not a pure technology play, it's organizational and strategic. You need buy-in across the business, right?
Absolutely. I'd argue the technology is the easiest part. The hard part is changing how your organization thinks about automation. Your support team needs to understand that they're shifting from handling routine queries to coaching agents and managing escalations. Your business leaders need to understand that ROI takes time but compounds, and your compliance team needs a seat at the table from week 1.
You mentioned cost reduction earlier, 40 to 60% reduction in support costs. Is that realistic across the board, or are there scenarios where it doesn't apply?
It depends heavily on your current operation. If you've got a large support team handling routine tickets, the savings are dramatic. But if you're in a niche where most interactions are truly bespoke, you won't see the same magnitude. Also, you have to account for implementation costs, building integrations, training the model, setting up governance. Payback period is typically 6 to 12 months for mid-market enterprises, but it varies.
What about the human element? I imagine there's resistance when you're telling support teams that AI is going to handle 45% of their work. How do you navigate that organizationally?
It's real, but here's the thing. The data shows that teams actually prefer this model. Yes, there's disruption initially, but support specialists end up spending their time on genuinely interesting, high-value problems instead of explaining shipping timelines for the 100th time. And compensation and career paths can shift upward. You're moving from transactional work to strategic problem-solving. When it's framed and managed well, adoption is much smoother.
That reframing is important. This isn't about replacing people, it's about augmenting them with better tools and redirecting their skills toward higher value work. So what's the one thing our listeners should take away from this conversation?
AI agents are not the future. They're here now, and they're fundamentally reshaping customer service and workflow automation. But they're not plug and play. Success requires strategic thinking about your workflows, your data, your compliance obligations, and your team. Organizations that move decisively and thoughtfully on all 4 fronts will capture significant competitive advantage in the next 18 months.
Excellent summary. And if you want to dive deeper into the Rotterdam case study, real-world deployment models, and specific compliance strategies, head over to EtherLink AI and check out the full article. Thanks so much for the insights today, Sam. Thanks to all of you for tuning in to EtherLink AI Insights. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Alex. Great conversation.